Hello! Kona is our last guest this season. We'll be taking a break, then releasing some bonus content and episodes before the next season starts. So, if you like the show, be sure to subscribe. And if you love the season, rate and review wherever you listen. Thank you so much for listening.
Whole body chills, like shaking, uncontrollably crying, couldn't breathe, and I'm like in the middle of trying to play this round, and I'm like literally at one point I'm like standing over my throw. I don't even know if I can see right now. There's tears in my eyes. This game, sometimes we make it so big in our mind that when we do that, it's like
Welcome to Basket Case, the podcast where disc golfers tell you the stories of when their mental game had the power to make or break their rounds. Let's gain some experience, work on our brains, and hit some chains. This week features Kona Montgomery. With a huge contract and a social media following, 2022 was setting up the year of confidence for Kona. Hear how she's worked through mental game struggles this season and the unforeseen obstacles of health, panic attacks, and online hate. Plus, how she's pushing through, transitioning into the year of perspective. Hi, Kona. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I actually just listened to Eagles, your segment with Eagles, so I'm super stoked to be on.
Yeah, Eagles was so good.
It's just, you don't get to see that side of us, other than like doing podcasts like this. You just see us on the course and you expect us to be amazing always, and so people don't know that there's some stuff in the, behind the scenes that people just don't realize. So to hear his story and him talk about some stuff was just very enlightening and also very relatable.
I guess first we should say congratulations, Kona Montgomery.
Oh, thank you. I know I have a new signature now, and we finally, with the wedding and the honeymoon, it was amazing, and we wish we could relive it every day. It's like I have wedding depression or post wedding depression, but we're back in California. We spent some time in Colorado with Colton's family, but now it's back to the grind. But yeah, getting back to training and getting the body and like why I'm here, the mind right for the season.
Post-wedding depression is so interesting and it's so real. Any high is going to be followed by a low just to like balance everything out. So that's interesting. And
totally.
Good time to do it on the off season so it's not affecting you.
Yes, exactly. I don't know how people get married during the season. I'm so thankful it was during the off season.
So how long have you guys been together? Was he one of the people who kind of got you into disc golf?
Yeah, so my dad helped co-found a club in Colorado called the Mile High Club. So he got me started at a very young age. Like I don't remember a time where my family wasn't somehow involved with disc golf, whether it be, dragging me out to the ice bowl. I remember fond memories of my mom caddying for me and constantly feeding me because I'm like getting tired and walking the course as a 14-year-old. It wasn't until I got sponsored by Innova at the time when my family straight up picked up like our whole lives. My dad shortly after got a job with Innova. So, I got sponsored and then boom, he got a job and they're like, we'd love for you to come to California. And so within a month, we packed up everything, left my brother at college at CSU, and we came to California. Sorry, Kyle. So that's how I got involved with, the more of the competitive side of disc golf. Dove in, started working at the factory store, the Innova factory store for a few years, and then met Colton. We actually were born and raised in Colorado, played the same events growing up, but never met, never crossed paths, nothing. And then we came to California. He was working at Discmania back when they were in Rancho as well. And he was at my local course and I was like, yo, like, you want to go play sometime? And so I guess I slid into his DMs. I don't know, but it was just very friendly because at the time I had a boyfriend. So it was like, yeah, I just want more people to play with and you're around my age. And so we hit it off, went to putting league, beat everyone like 3 weeks in a row. They were tired of us going. And after that, he invited me on the road. He's like, would you like to come on the what's it called? The Maniac was the RV that they called it back then, with him and our good friend Bartosz.
Okay.
And so that's how I got on the road, was because of Colton when we were just friends.
So how old were you at that time?
Oh my gosh. So that would have been like 5 years ago. I think I was like 19.
Wow, that's
I was
great.
a little baby. And my parents were like, yeah, go on the road with two boys, whatever, have fun, see you, and call us. It was, my parents are very lax. So yeah, they trust me, and they were like, try it out, see if you love this tour thing.
That's so cool. Yeah, we have
Mhm.
a 5-year-old girl, and right now disc golf for her is like the thing that takes mom away. And so she doesn't like love it yet.
Mhm.
But if we're like out playing as a family together, she like gets really interested in it, and she can throw pretty far. We've been thinking about getting her set up to see if she can break like a distance record at her age.
Yes,
But
you should.
that's so interesting to hear about you growing up in disc golf and then coming into it. Like that's how I've
Mhm.
been. Like I'm never gonna push it on her. It's gonna be like if she wants to do it, then she'll do it. But then it's that fine line because like if you don't tell her that you wanted her to do it, then maybe she won't
Mhm.
ever do it. And you might miss the opportunity. So
Yeah, like my parents introduced me, and then it wasn't until high school, my senior year, when I met my good friend Thomas Bach. He and I would just travel around Colorado and play, random courses. That was our thing, and that's what really got me excited about disc golf, was just finding someone my age to go and play with, and that's when I got really obsessed.
you've kind of had a crazy last few seasons. What have you been a basket case about lately? What are some of your struggles that you're working through?
I have been a real basket case about a lot of things on the course. Personally, I've experienced some health issues. I have a thyroid disease called Hashimoto's, and they've recently found some nodes on and around it that may be cancerous. So,
Oh my
if
God.
I have anything to say about this past season, it's perspective, and that there are bigger things in this world to get upset about other than people talking crap to me on the internet. This past year was tough. It was
Yeah.
not fun. I, was really excited moving from Innova to Dynamic because they showed nothing but love for me. And I felt that love from them, but the amount of people who had such horrible things to say about me was insane. And it's just crazy to think that someone can sit behind a screen and write those kinds of things. And going over, having these health issues has really put that into perspective, that
Yeah.
those people obviously have something else going on in their life that is just not good, and that's sad for them. That definitely put things into perspective for sure.
Yeah, I always say the way people treat you has more to do with them than it does to do with you. And I mean, it's absolutely true. There's some people that no matter how brilliant and successful and whatever the X thing is that makes you pass in their minds, like no matter how much of that thing you are, like they'll still hate you. We talked about that a little bit with Natalie as well, like just the amount of hate that she receives. And like, I can't even fathom it because like I'm like a nobody. Nobody ever thinks about that when they're like, oh, I'm going to build a following. No
Yeah,
one
yeah, and I'm definitely someone who likes to put themselves out there because I'm
yeah.
just a very open person. Like I if I have something to say that may help someone else online, like I'm gonna say it. And I think that's why I got so much crap from people, because I was so open about my struggles with my putting or with my confidence, that it gave people something to talk about and to
Right.
poke and prod and be angry or whatever at me about.
I had no idea about your health issues. That's wild. And
No one does.
it makes
Chelsea, you're
my
like for like four people.
well, heck. So like you better announce it before when am I gonna release this? February?
Yeah, no one truly knows what you're going through, but everyone can empathize best you can. Right now, I'm just waiting for a biopsy, which also might delay our season, unfortunately, because if I need surgery, I'll have to get that done. Obviously, that's way more important. And thankfully, my sponsors have been incredible, just amazing. They're like, if you need to start the season later, start the season later. Like, this needs to be taken care of. And my CEO, Jeremy, is like, do we need to help with anything? So just the fact that, they're behind me and in my corner is just like, the stress isn't as bad with them being so supportive of everything. Yeah. But we're excited for the season and we've been practicing our butts off. So I hope that everything comes back chill because I'm ready to get out there.
Gosh, that's so wild to think that you were going through that all season too. And like, nobody knows. So like all they see is one thing.
Whatever year James Conrad won World, so 2021. I remember Colton, I was experiencing like extreme anxiety, and like Colton had to take me to the emergency room twice in like 2 days because I'm like, I have to have something wrong. I can't breathe. I can't swallow. And it's just like, I remember just being so scared. And then, we had a tournament that weekend. So it's like these people don't know what's going on day to day with us. And like, I don't post that stuff to my social media. Like, I don't need people knowing that kind of stuff.
You'd think that it would be obvious that what you see on social media is very one-dimensional. Even if you are the most open person and you're willing to share, like it's still one dimension of a person, and you have to give people the time and space to be the complex human beings they are. No one knows the kind of battles you're fighting. So it's crazy to hear, and well done for pushing through it. And then on top of that, you have to deal with all the hate coming in from like the real-time judgment of what's happening. Was there a tournament in 2022 where that got to you in particular?
Yes. One that immediately pops in my head is Green Mountain Championships. I don't even remember who I was playing with, but I had been pretty depressed up to that point, just like so tired of social media. I love social media. It's been the main reason I got into like competitive disc golf was like social media was so fun for me. And I got to meet all these people and pros and interact with all of this amazing community. And it got to a point where it was just so toxic and I didn't even want to post. Like I was so tired of people nitpicking everything or being so hateful, commenting, why did you get that contract? Like, you suck. Like, and then the next day I like was started my round and I was on hole 2 and we had it backed up already. And I'm like, I guess I'll scroll on my phone for a second, whatever. And someone posted a horrible meme about me. And I just remember like whole body chills, like shaking, uncontrollably crying, couldn't breathe. And I'm like in the middle of trying to play this round and I'm like trying to get through it. And I like literally at one point, I'm like standing over my throw and I'm uncontrollably shaking and crying and like, crying so hard you can't get your breath.
Oh
and I'm like sitting there like I'm ready to walk off. Like I'm like, I don't even know if I can see right now. There's tears in my eyes. And got through the round. And I was the people playing with me probably thought I was like horribly mean because I wasn't talking to anyone. I was standing 100 feet away from everyone. I was not in the mood to talk.
And like wiping and then putting on the face and then,
Totally. Like trying to keep my stuff together was not doing a good job. And at the end of the round, I go back to my condo. No one's there. So it's like not like I had anyone else to talk to. I like broke down and I had to call my therapist. Like I've had a therapist over the phone at that time, I'd had him for a few weeks. And I called and I texted him. I'm like, I need you, or I don't know. Like I got to a point where I was just so low and so sad and upset. And I just had no worth. And I felt so useless that I was like, I'm done. Disc golf is the one thing in my life that I feel like has brought me around a community of people who are so loving. And that community was just, I hate to get emotional about it because, I've come a long way since that day. But, that was something I hadn't experienced before, being so low to the point where I'm like, I don't even want it. I don't even care. I'm done. I'm done with everything. And my therapist, he goes by Purple. He saved me that day. So I have to give him a huge shout out for that, for sure. So that was a big moment where I was like, okay, time for a break from social media. Obviously, like that's a big reason why Dynamic, sponsored me, was they loved how I could connect with people online. But I talked to them and I'm like, to be completely honest, it's gotten to a place where it's toxic and my mental health is feeling that, and that is more important to me than posting to my Instagram. And so for a while I had some help from some people who would post for me just so I was still kind of active, still kind of out there. But I was like, guys, I need a second. I need to step back and see why I actually play this game and why I fell in love with it.
One thing we talk a lot about, especially in like the immersive episodes that we do, is like how our brains have been patterned to like have these tools that aid us in survival. Our brains have not had the chance to catch up to the world we live in today. Constant good, constant bad feedback, like ding, 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 is really, yeah, it can be toxic for your brain. Like you literally just don't have the biology yet to catch up to that. So I think absolutely, if you need to take a break, that's the best way to detox your brain and reset it to like a healthy baseline before going in on the roller coaster of dopamine. And
Totally. And with my condition, my Hashimoto's, like the more stress and the more like what is it, fight or flight responses, the worse my condition gets. And I'm just now reading stuff about that, and like I can only imagine like the amount of stress I went through this past year. Like it didn't help. So crazy.
Right. Well, and it's so hard to figure out ways to address those things when you're in the moment. Like when you're in it, like you can't see like the forest through the trees, you know? So yeah,
Totally.
it probably took just grinding through it, having a horrible time, and then waiting for the off season and a bit of a break to do some like reflecting on like, okay, gosh, that's what was happening.
But I have to give a huge shout out. I have some die-hard Kona fans out there that were like incredibly supportive. And obviously, my husband, fiance at the time, was just incredible at being there for me. And you need anything, like we'll do it. Shout out to him because he was incredible during that. Going from LVC straight to Waco, where I won the year before with a brand new bag, crappy weather, trying to figure out what works and what wind conditions and what to throw on what, was like very mentally taxing and very upsetting, because coming to Waco after such an amazing event, winning by 12 strokes, which was insane for anyone, but incredibly insane for me, who, I think we talked like the imposter syndrome. Like it's just, for that to happen to me and then to come back and not even come close to a top 10 finish was very hard.
Because you won last year, you have all of this extra mass to the event that you feel like you have to live up to, and that's hard. What do you think your mental game battle will be in 2023? Hear Kona's answer and her mental game strengths and strategies after a quick ad break. Stay with us. If you're listening to Basket Case, you will likely be getting some new disc golf gear soon. Some of my favorite discs I've owned I found at infinitediscstour.com. They have pictures of every disc, so you can find a disc that has good vibes and know exactly what you're getting. They carry basically every retailer, so that obscure favorite that just went swimming could be replaced after all. You can also sell them your used or new discs that don't work for your game before you throw them in the water, so someone else can. If you're a TD, their payout and sponsorship options can streamline the whole process for you and allow your winners to get what they want. They do player packs and trophies too. Check out what they can do by going to infinitediscstour.com. That's infinitediscstour.com. Wild Pack Sports wants to help people get outdoors and thrive through adventure, sport, and mindfulness. If you're looking for more control or stamina in stressful situations, their mindfulness sessions can help you develop habits to use on and off the course. Whether you're staring down a 30-footer for the win or surviving a trip to the grocery store with your kids, a lesson on breathwork, mindfulness, or a cold plunge can give you the tools you need to thrive. Sessions can be in person or virtual, so get started today by going to wildpacksports.com. Wildpack Sports, control the moment, control the outcome. What do you think your mental game battle will be in 2023?
it's just gonna be, I don't know because I'm focusing so hard on my putt right now. Like
Mm.
it's feeling amazing, and the more reps I put in, I know it's gonna be there for me, even when my mental may not be there, because I'm gonna have those reps under my belt. Um, I think it's gonna be playing in front of people again because for a while I was like, I don't even want anyone to look at me. Like I want them to look over there when I throw or when I putt, which is so sad because I'm usually the person who's like, I can't wait to throw in front of someone and show them how this S flight or, something. But like it got to a point where I'm just like, I don't want anyone around me. So I think that's going to be like a good barrier for me to break when we first get on the road.
Yeah. You mentioned feeling some imposter syndrome, and I think that's really, really common. I think more common than people realize. And I think especially for women in disc golf, I think it kind of comes with the territory. Can you talk a little bit about that and if there was any tournaments in particular that like you were kind of feeling that?
I won't say a tournament, but I will say like as soon as I got my contract with Dynamic, like I came to them with this big contract, and it was definitely very crazy of me to do, but they said let's do it, and the fact that they said yes and it was pretty much the contract that I sent them kind of blew my mind because I kind of expected them to come back and say you're not worth that. I was expecting them to say no,
Like
no, no,
going
we need to.
high, and then when they negotiate, you'll
Yes,
be like, perfect, that's
yes,
what I wanted in the first place.
exactly. So
And
the
you're like,
fact
wait,
that
what?
yes, so
Oh
the
my
fact
gosh.
that they came back and were like, Kona, you are worth it, let's do it. That was, very imposter. And then also like being at DD with Rick with all of these camera crews and all of these interviewers, and like we're sitting on a desk and we're live with like thousands of people watching us. That was imposter syndrome because
Wow.
I'm not a world champion. If we're breaking it all down, I'm not a
Yeah,
world champion. I didn't win it at the time.
I believe in
Um,
you.
yes. But it's just like going from, okay, I won Waco and I had a great year and I finished top 10 in these standings and blah, 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 to giant contract to now all eyes are on you. That was definitely like, this shouldn't be me doing this. Like, and that's why people give me a hard time, obviously. But like, that was definitely imposter syndrome in that moment.
I mean, it's one thing if you are very confident in who you are and what your stance on whatever is, and then you get hate. I feel like it would be so much harder to work through if you felt the same way. Like that would gut me. I can't reassure myself to combat that thing because I'm already thinking the same thing. That's hard. That sucks. Other people would have done the same thing you did, and you did a good job, even though it sucks.
Thanks. Thank you.
Maybe talk about some of your strengths. What are some of your mental game wins or lessons you've learned?
One of my favorite things that I used during Waco, and I still continue to use it now, is mantras. Anytime I step up to a shot, I'm trying to fill my brain with positive thoughts. My mantra, which I've kept with me for the past few years now, is all the confidence in the world. I'll step up to a shot, whether you're thinking, oh crap, like I hope I don't hit that tree or blah, blah, blah. You quiet your mind by saying like this one thing. So I've heard some people say, like, you're the best disc golfer, something to hype them up. But mine has just always been, like, okay, all the confidence in the world. And in that moment, okay, from this moment on, you have to feel all that confidence in the world, like commit. And then sometimes, like when I'm feeling super, super low on the course, I always think of home. So it's almost like Happy Gilmore, find your happy place. Totally. So my happy place is, with my family, with my cat Ruffles. She's sitting here right next to me. She's my 22-year-old love bug. She's the love of my life. Sorry, Colton. This game, sometimes we make it so big in our mind. We make it so important that when we do bad, it's like, everything's ruined and life sucks, So being able to take myself out of that, look at it from like a, perspective that this game is supposed to be fun. And yes, there is money involved. And yes, there's titles and sponsors. At the end of the day, we are throwing these plastic circles into metal baskets. There are way worse things in the world that we could be doing. So trying to, take a step back is, something that I try and do on the course as well.
Was there like a particular tournament where you felt like your mental game came through?
Yes, and you can go watch it. GK Pro 2021 Waco, that final round. I was already leading by, I think I started at 14 strokes. And, it's not like I could lose it, but I never took my foot off the pedal. It was like I wanted to play the best I could until the very end. And I felt like I was just radiating confidence. Like there was nothing I could do wrong. And that round is always good to go back and watch. And same with Colton, go back and watch his round when he won Waco, because those were both moments where it looked like there was not a thought in our mind
Right.
but throwing that disc and executing. And that's so cool to look at, because in
Mhm.
that moment, like I just said, I was thinking of nothing else. I was enjoying myself. It's not like I was chatting with the people on my card too much. I wasn't bantering or being silly. I was just like, I'm here to play and I'm gonna try and lace every shot I can. And I hit some huge putts back when I had my Annie putt. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, looking back at that stuff, that video is awesome to see mentally how strong I was and how strong I, still can be.
I read an interesting article that was saying you can actually like put on the role of performance when you play. For instance, they had people do the sport and then they had people pretend like they were the top pro in that sport and play it. So they were like kind of role playing as the top pro versus playing as them, and they all improved.
Wow.
Yeah, so just play like you're playing Waco Kona and
Totally. And I listened to Eagle's video when you did that segment with him, and I loved how he said how he has a little script he reads right before.
no, I love the idea of the contract. I totally want to do my own because, like, you've gone through some shit and, like, that gives you power and just like reinforcing that to yourself.
Well, and I liked that like his trainer signed off on it too, because that
Yeah.
definitely adds the accountability to it that I didn't really think of.
Have you ever been in a tournament where you kind of started falling off and then you were able to, like, right the ship?
There was Ledgestone. We were playing Sunset Hills. And I remember like that course is not very hard. Not hard in the sense that it's pretty wide open. You don't have like tunnels to hit. It's a golf course kind of style. And I remember they had like all these painted OBs. And although it was wide open, I just kept leaking OB on these wide open shots. And I remember being so frustrated because I'm like, this is my kind of course. I have distance. I remember I kept going OB and I was so angry, and I could felt my blood pressure rising. I could feel those angry thoughts coming in my head. And I remember feeling that, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I like kind of calmed myself down, and I have my breathing techniques I always do. So it's like I always like count to 3 in, and then I like it's almost like blowing through a straw out. So it's like a very long breathe out. And so my breathing techniques brought me back to level. And then I remember just being like, play for par. Like
Mm.
you don't absolutely need these birdies right now. If you're going everywhere, you're sporadic, your form is gross. Let's bring it back a notch and let's keep it in the fairway and just go for par. And I remember by the end of that round, by even just going for par, I picked up some birdies because I started playing safer and like within myself, instead of trying to go all crazy and be like, well, I know I can get there. Being able to come back and be present after being super angry and upset and being like, all right, let's get back to the basics. Let's play safe and let's just go for the pars. And that not only calmed me down, but I ended up having better play because of it.
Any other mental game strengths you feel like you've gained from everything you've gone through?
Definitely the breathing. That's been a huge thing, especially with my anxiety. I get to these moments where it's like my chest gets really tight and my throat gets really tight, and it's like I can't eat because I feel like I'm gonna choke. And then all of a sudden, I do my breathing techniques and like I'm able to chill out. I also have a watch called Whoop, which I believe Eagle does as well, if I'm not mistaken. It helps track like our sleep. It helps track every day like our recovery. Usually, depending on how I sleep, is how great I'm going to feel the next day. Obviously, that's for everyone else, but I can see that on my Whoop, and that definitely helps combat like anything else I'm feeling that day. Because I'm like, okay, well, my Whoop just said I did not get my recovery. okay, that's why, I'm not feeling as energetic today or, on point mentally.
Every single person that's come on the podcast has mentioned breathing. Every single one. You mentioned feeling anxiety. Have you kind of always had anxiety growing up?
No, 4th of July, 2021, I had my first anxiety attack ever. I was sitting there and I was like, I just don't feel right. And then all of a sudden it was a full body experience and it was full shakes, couldn't breathe. And I remember just telling Colton, like, I feel like I'm gonna die, like I need to go to the hospital. And Colton's brother came in and he's like, I think you're having an anxiety attack. And I'm like, this is not an anxiety attack. I am dying. And he's like, no, I think you just like do some breathing. And like after a while, like it subsided. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what was that? And then after that, it was often and it was
Wow.
frequent. And it was like, I still deal with it. It's gotten a lot better recently.
So it's going
So
to be
much.
something moving forward that you have to manage and deal with. Like for me, I have always had anxiety. Like I don't know if you can technically classify it as anxiety. They only qualify it as anxiety if it's like interfering with your life in a negative way. For me, it's always been very high functioning anxiety where all it does is make me good at things. It makes me try hard and be an overachiever and anticipate all these things. It's like I've had it my whole life, but I've been able to like use it to be productive, I guess, even though it also is torturous, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
But I've dealt with it my whole life. So for me, it's like a normal, like it's part of like functioning. So that would be kind of hard to adjust to when you haven't had it. And then now all of a sudden, here's this extra thing on top of everything else. What are some of the strategies that you use out on the course or tips and tricks you have for helping out your mental game?
That mantra is huge. All the confidence in the world. That's something I use way often, if not before every single shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then also a big one that I think some people struggle with is not comparing yourself to other people, making sure you're prepared before the tournament, because there are people who, you go play on a card with maybe someone who throws farther than you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to try and throw as far as them. And then all of a sudden you're playing outside of your game.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what's going on? I'm shooting like crap. So being able to come back to earth and no, I can't throw that far. I don't need to play
Mm-hmm.
at that level. So not comparing, myself to others is huge. And then yeah, just trying to be positive and like I said, realizing that there are bigger things in the world than, not doing well on a disc golf course. Take a step back. You have a family or you have friends or people who care about you. It sucks when you're on the disc golf course and you're not playing well, especially after, practicing so hard. I can get better and this isn't the end. Gosh, find a mantra. Find something that either gets you pumped up before you throw or before you putt, or something that helps relax you before your rounds, whether it's a breathing technique or a yoga, or realizing that, not everyone is Paul Macbeth or Ricky Wysocki, that we are all doing our best to play this sport at our best potential, but also reps. I mean, most of the time, our fears and, when we don't play well, it's because we aren't practicing enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, learning from your mistakes during the round and going to the field or going somewhere else, taking it off the course completely and being like, okay, this is what I need to improve. Yeah, some of the best rounds I've played they were confident because I wasn't thinking, which meant that I had a great practice regimen, which also meant that I probably had several practice rounds beforehand. So I was prepared, I was ready, I was confident. I probably, when I won Waco, Colton and I were out putting at the baskets till sunset. We were just practicing super hard. And I just remember feeling so at ease walking up to the first box, just not nervous at all, just ready to play. And then all of a sudden I'm in the lead. So, preparation, but also just believing in yourself, almost like you said, even if I like had to pretend that I was, Paige Pierce or someone, if I have to mentally do that to get to that space, do it, it's just, so for me, it was just like a blank mind. So it was no thought, no doubts. It was just full on commitment, all the confidence in the world.
if listeners remember one thing about me talking with you, what would you want them to remember?
To keep our sport positive and keep on motivating our younger divisions. I just signed our new dynamic discs teammate. Her name is Hayden Wybush. Sorry, Hayden, if I got that wrong.
Oh my gosh,
But
I think I follow her on Instagram. She's a baby.
Yes, she's tiny, and I just got her on dynamic because I'm like, we need more juniors. You know, I came from a team that had a plethora of juniors, and I'm like, we need more of them interacting with other disc golfers online in a positive way, because social media is amazing for connecting with people. I've had people message me saying, oh my gosh, I related so much with your video, or like I've had people message me bringing me to tears. I have this family, I won't name them, in Massachusetts, who there's two little girls. They are the cutest little girls in the world, and their family was really struggling during COVID. But like I would send messages back and forth, and I remember like they got some Kona shirts, and I remember getting a message from his dad after COVID or this past year, and they're like, it was so nice to have you during that time, because the girls were just like stuck in this house. They couldn't do anything, but having you to interact with made it 10 times easier. And it's just like social media can be such an amazing platform if we use it for what it's supposed to be used for.
If we use it for good instead of evil.
Yes, yes, exactly. You know, there are so many people on the road who come from so many different backgrounds, and, you know, that may not have had the same experiences and privileges that, you know, others may have had. And so we're all coming from different walks of life. Being able to, you know, be a judge-free zone and just chuck frisbees together and, you know, enjoy the company, I think is just so important for the growth of our sport. And then also just the mental side. I mean, the more we can be positive and stop all this crap online, although it'll never stop, especially when I go win something, it'll get worse probably, you know. It's just like it'll go nowhere. But also just like remembering who I am and knowing that I just have a crazy support system, and that, you know, people listening too, you know, like, remember, there are people in your corner.
Gosh, I mean, I have never had to deal with anything like that. Like, what do you do when you read a hateful message? Like, how do you deal with that?
You know, I've gotten to the point where I read it and I instantly go block the person. Like, they don't even get a second chance. So, there's been some like people who may have followed me for a long time, but as soon as I see that negative stuff on my pages, I don't need it. The people following me, they don't need to see it. It's just like, get out of here. You're not worth my time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Kona, thank you so much for talking with me. Appreciate you so much. Especially for how you were so open and able to just like speak from your heart. It really means a lot.
Yeah, you know, I'm super thankful I came on. When you messaged me about this, I saw an opportunity in just showing people, you know, we're human too. We may look like super human disc golf people who are always happy, always stoked, but, you know, we're just like everyone else, and we have feelings and emotions like everyone else. So definitely I hope this can help relate to someone listening.
If you want to use your powers of social media for good instead of evil, you can connect with Kona on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Kona_disc and Kona Panis Disc Golf. Her sponsors are Dynamic Discs, Bushnell Disc, and Lore Disc Dies. If you have a mantra you use, or you want to give Kona's episode some love, send it in to discgolfbasketcase@gmail.com and we'll read it on the show. And as always, if you like the show, rate, review, and subscribe, especially leaving a review. I am not a mental health professional or a sports psychologist. Opinions expressed by guests on the show are their own and don't necessarily represent my views. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, full send, everybody. No guts, no glory, no brains, no chains. Goodbye.